This conference will now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for our new Pope. God bless him, be over him, and help guide him to do the right things. I know as American Pope, it's great history for the United States to have an American Pope for the first time in all these years. Be with him and bless him. Oh Lord, as we go into our meeting tonight, guide us in a godly manner that we make the right decisions for the townspeople and the towns. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Should have prayed. We're going to do a little changing around tonight. Miss Poppy has to go to.
She got good dance.
It's being recorded.
You join me up here at flag, council member. Please come up too.
Sure.
No, I didn't know.
I'm not going to bite you, you know that.
Yeah, I'll stand up beside you because I'm short.
There you go.
Yeah, we can be tall next to me.
That's what it's all about there.
Okay, on behalf of Mayor and Council, I have a proclamation. Whereas America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freely by citizen soldiers, whereas millions who have answered the call to arms have died on the field of battle, whereas nation of peace must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those who have died in war. Whereas the red poppy has been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of lives in all wars, and whereas American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind America annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial flyer. Now, therefore, I, Howard W. Long, Mayor of Boonsburg, Washington County, do hereby proclaim this month of May 2025 as Poppy Month, and ask that all citizens pay tribute to those who have had the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the memorial poppy on this day. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of the town of Boonsburg, Maryland, this 12th day of May 2025. Sent that to you. Just look at your smile.
What have I gotten myself into?
Good
job.
Now you-
Good job.
Now you got the sign.
Practice your way. Practice your way.
That goes with you.
Practice your way back, your boy.
You're welcome.
Like
Good
this.
luck. Cheers. Thank you, ma'am.
Good luck. Thank you. We'll see you guys in the parade. No, thank you.
Take care.
See ya. Bye-bye. Keep on dancing.
Okay. Looks like all the council's present. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our regular meeting last month, April 14th?
And this was like changes the minutes, so I didn't do it in an email. So under the town manager's report, it says stated that there was 58,500 left over. But I think it should have said 58,500 hadn't been reimbursed, right? That you had to submit for reimbursement in a grant, like we did not spend $58,500.
We, until that was called.
Yeah.
We had not spent the final, we
hadn't submitted for reimbursement,
Yes.
right?
we spent way more than that
Yeah,
much on the
so I
project,
think-
but we had not been
So like,
reimbursed.
you know what I mean? I think it needs reworded.
Okay,
So
to say what?
You know what I mean? Because it says stated that there's 58,500 left over in program open space funds, but that wasn't right.
I could say there was that much left to be reimbursed,
Okay,
to submit for reimbursement.
Like, that's how I understood it, so I wanted to make sure that, like, that was, and I didn't think that made it clear.
It wasn't that we had the money up front and we had
Correct,
that
we had to
left over.
submit receipts, yeah, it wasn't like we didn't use grant money that we were awarded.
Sorry, Kim, I'm sure I said that wrong.
That's okay.
So that would be my only thing I thought needed corrected.
Okay, we're good.
Better.
Anybody else have any other corrections? Do I have a motion to approve as corrected?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstained, motion carries. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so at the end of April, the general fund had a balance of $3,413,494.87. Just a couple of highlights. We collected $13,510.43 in real estate payments. There are some still remaining. We don't have an exact amount there. Personal property tax payments received totaled $896.61. FY25 Q3 amusements and admission funds received totaling $2,569.27. February 2025 hotel motel tax received totaling $2,658.70. And fishing derby took in $450 in donations. We also received $25,000 from Nora Roberts Foundation. That money is earmarked for the BEC's glass crushing machine. We also received grant reimbursement payment number 2 for Schaefer Park Creek Masonry Project totaling $58,500. We received grant reimbursement payment number 3 for Schaefer Park Phase 4 half project totaling $73,725. And we paid Huntsberry Brothers their second payment in that part of the Schaefer Park Phase 4 project totaling $53,925. We paid MRDC $12,000 in FY25 for the Circuit Rider program. And we paid Aero Consulting $4,945.50 for the comp plan update services. And we also paid Aero Consulting $2,353.74 for on-call GIS services. Restricted funds had an ending balance on the sheets of $356,892.42. The only action in the month of April was interest earned of $822.38. Our CDs had an ending balance of $1,602,120.41. And I do want to say that I know that's a lower number than last month. Reason being, the end of March, we had $2,143,848.79. And the reason that we're just showing the 1.6 at the moment is that we have 2 CDs that were cash and they're in transit and that money didn't hit the bank until the month of May. Middletown Valley Bank, Friends of Schaefer Park CD totaling $57,120.41. And we have a Fidelity CD totaling $1,545,000 balance. The Fidelity cash account balance is $9,431.22, and that account balance is never shown in the CD balance. Our water fund ended the month of April with a balance of $1,278,305.16. We collected $443,239.25 in our water, sewer, sanitation collections. We also paid WRA their 13th invoice as part of the Crestview Bypass project for design and engineering totaling $12,976.30. After this invoice, there will be $12,923.63 remaining to be billed. The water fund user fee restricted account had a balance of $2,647,950.18. The only action in that account for the month of April was interest earned of $3,238.87. The American Rescue Plan Funds Act had an ending balance of $2,125,369.71. We did pay WRA their second invoice as part of the reservoir replacement project for construction totaling $221,040.13. After this invoice, there is still $5,631,163.35 remaining to be billed on the contract. We paid WRA their fifth invoice as part of the reservoir replacement project for construction engineering totaling $1,697,61. After this, there's a total of $39,759.44 remaining to be billed on the original change order of $50,000. We paid Aero Consulting for our RPR services as part of the reservoir replacement project totaling $13,790.98. The sewer fund had an ending balance of $98,034.23. We paid for a deposit on the wastewater treatment plant fencing to Frederick Fence totaling $15,278. And the sewer fund user fee restricted account had an ending balance of $309,066.29. And the only action for the month of April was interest earned of $712.17. And I do believe that's it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions of Tony? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept treasurer's report?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Nobody signed up for public comments. Oh, okay. Let's come up, sit down.
Okay.
Tell us your name and address.
Brian Smith, 107 Maple Avenue. And I guess three pieces. So one suggestion. So Dean South project, better communication. Let the residents there know what's going on. Right, seeing somebody in the backyard putting stake in, seeing a contractor come in and start doing stuff when you don't really know what the timeline is. So that's the first thing. Then timeline, what is the timeline for the construction? Because I got a question, actually on the minutes. I think last week, Mary Lee, you made a comment about getting the road completed. And so my question is, because we met with Drew, we came to the planning commission, all the residents along there, and I think most of the residents in town, were under the assumption that nothing would be done until the road was completed. To me, the road completed is doing the stoplight, a roundabout, whatever was going to be done. Right? That was back in 2018. There was notes made that was the suggestion, that nothing would happen. Now, can I say I've known or know everything that's happened from 18 to now? But I think for most people you talk to, that was the perception. So a lot of people were surprised to see activity happening when that road is not completed. So I think what was in the minutes was that permits will not be issued, but what completes or what constitutes the road being completed? Is it just them cutting it in, or is that the completion of the road of Chase 6 the whole way through?
Well, the road won't be completely finished until we get our side done.
Yeah.
So the traffic signal, yeah, but the traffic signal probably won't go in, and crosswalk won't go in until we get ours done to get it connected.
Okay.
He's supposed to have his in finish.
Okay.
So
So
it's my understanding, right, that his side of the road has to be done before you can build a house.
No, that's not correct. Drew Bale South.
So when you all had the discussion long ago, when you decided that the road needed to go out and line up with Campus Boulevard, there's a whole bunch of history on that, there were a bunch of public hearings. So what was stated at that time is that the intersection, traffic light, according to the annexation agreement, had to be completed or bonded. It says both words. So what's happening now is the construction plans are done. We got our access permit from State Highway to start construction. We're waiting on the MOU from the Board of Ed. We're waiting on Mr. McElwee's response back to the offer that you all made. But once that happens, we can actually start the construction once we hire a contractor, okay? That will probably happen, there is no tie now to them building houses and the intersection being done. Because the intersection is under a signed agreement, under a bond, it's going to get done. We just gotta get the pieces. Will they build houses and be allowed to have permits before that road is open? Yeah, they will. Because the annexation agreement said it either had to be completed or bonded. It's bonded. That's an agreement that the developer signed with the town. You all approved that. Are we trying to get them done simultaneously? We absolutely are. But there's just a lot of pieces going on here and a lot of things that we don't have control over.
And I think, Brian, I was under the same impression as you, where we, I think we're all where the planning commission was.
Yeah.
This came up in discussion about 2 cycles ago in the planning commission, and honestly, it took us all by surprise, so.
Well, let's keep in mind, although Richmond Homes is building this section, they're building almost a quarter mile of the road. They are building J6 Boulevard. They're doing what we said they needed to do. Now, is it all done under one contract, so it's all simultaneously done at the same time? No. They're gonna come right to the right-of-way line of the state highway with the road, and the construction should be going on simultaneously, and then they'll connect to it, they'll put the lights up and everything. But to answer the direct question from anyone, yes, they can build and sell houses before the road is open to Mapleville Road. That's the answer that everybody's looking for. I want to be crystal clear about that. They can do that.
And also, just for other clarification, we changed the design of the intersection midway through this process so that it would be properly aligned.
The
It
original,
was gonna be up
Yeah.
and had,
Yeah,
you know.
It was going to be an
better
offset
plan.
intersection, and it wasn't even going to serve a good purpose.
Right.
The way that it was intended to be put in originally. So by backtracking, making a proper intersection with a traffic light, signal light, and a walkway. And then we've got to work on the constraints of the property swap, the school being closed, an opportunity to build that intersection and make it all meet up. So there's been some change in the plan. The plan is still gonna happen, but it's not, like Drew said, it's not gonna be all at once. It's gonna be in phases, I guess, would be a good way to say it. But it's,
Well, so what
yeah,
the
and the
understanding.
perception.
So
yeah,
apparently
yeah,
there's lots of confusion.
Yeah.
Cause I thought their side would be done, like people could come in and out their way. just
No,
not our way.
the state highway's not gonna allow that and everything. Now, they may be able to go out J6 to all to 40, but they're not gonna be able to go out to Mapleville. State won't grant that until those traffic seats are in. So it takes us at least 3 years to get the school board to sit down with us and come to a conclusion about swapping that piece of
Oh,
ground.
no,
And we could
yeah,
do
I
that.
mean, it's.
And that was like trying to.
But, so that's as far as the timeline, it's just trying to understand what's gonna happen, right? So the first initial surprise was you saw the tape, when you heard, or the thought was, right, the understanding wasn't nothing would happen until that was completed. And until you see us shovel on the ground to do that, you know, that was the surprise, so. So then, and then one clarification on the turnover, when they complete, what is considered complete? Because then it goes, like, it sets in limbo for a year, right? So it gets turned over to the Fletcher Grove HOA.
okay, so there's two things that happen. There is what's called substantial acceptance. That's when they install all the water lines, the roads, everything's in, and the town starts taking it over. So for example, let's think about a subdivision. We usually don't put the last layer of asphalt down until the last house is built, so it's all nice, looks fresh. So there are some things that don't get done and the town takes it over ahead of time. That's what substantial completion is. That means the water lines working are being used, the sewer lines are working, storm drains working, roads are open, everything's open, but there's some punch list item things that need to get done. So substantial completion is when the town takes it over. And at that time, that's when all the deeds and all the final HOA transfers start happening for the forestry area and for Mr. Smith, the property that you're talking about. That will happen once substantial acceptance is happened. They say that they want to be able to sell houses in February of 2026. That means they'll probably start building them later this summer, early fall, which means substantial acceptance will probably in all likelihood happen this fall. You'll have roads out there, water lines, sewer lines, no houses yet, but you'll have all the infrastructure out there, and then they just start selling lots. So the answer to your question is probably by January or February of next year, all that stuff should have been accomplished or be in the process.
And then that's when it transfers to.
Yes.
The HOA. Okay. All right. 'Cause the other part, I have a vested interest, right? 105, 107,
Yeah.
right, there's a 40-foot right of way there.
Yes.
That, the understanding was that was a town right of way. Well, we've learned that it's not, that is part of an out parcel. So I have contacted the HOA to say, give that to me, sell it to me, do whatever, because my first fear is that people think it's a public right of way and we start getting traffic. And, we've mowed it, we've maintained it, we've done whatever for 22 years, right, since we've ever lived there. No one has ever set foot on there to do any maintenance except, Wendy on. So we're hoping to be able to get that to stop, at least that part. So I have contacted Claggett, they have taken to the HOA, but just trying to figure out a timeline, so. That's all, just better communication, let folks know what's going on, if we can. So.
Can I ask you to clarify for that, what exactly do you want more communication for?
Well, even what the start date was, right? We got a letter back sometime that said, hey, it didn't really have a date, it was like early, it said, when we get a letter, December or something.
Yeah, it was gonna start in March.
Yeah. And then, but didn't really say what it was. And then next thing you know, there's a stake on a property line, right? With nobody saying, even a heads up to say, hey, we're gonna be in there. They're gonna be in there, they're gonna start digging, they're gonna start doing something. So, and it's, because you're only talking 10 people. And I think every person along there, right, has similar concern when, everything started happening. And I don't know what's like, we have a 30-foot pile of dirt behind our house. That my concern is it's been wet now, what's gonna happen in the summer, right? Do you get storms? Should they be putting any ground cover over that, or should they do anything to, should they be planting, seeding something to hold that dirt? We get a thunderstorm from the west, my house is getting blasted with dust and dirt, that's dry, so. But it's just that kind of stuff, just trying to figure out, try to build a good relationship with some of the guys back there working, just to say, tell us what's going on or whatever, but just trying to figure that out, so.
Yeah, it's a big pile
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, so, all right, that's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yep.
We all learned something on that.
Well, I just.
Public Works Superintendent, right?
I'll start with the park. The walking trail's complete, as you guys know, and it is very well used. The guys, and you down there, and there's like 100 people down there within a couple hours, just nonstop. I started at one end and walked the other. I got like 1.2 miles on my watch, is what it is. If y'all wanted to go from one parking lot all the way over to the next bridge, it was like 1.2 miles. We had to install some railing down along where that one hazard was. If somebody went over it with a wheelchair, we'd have been in some serious problems because we drop off about this far. They still got to come out, put the back wings on, and once the grass is established, they will pick up their filter socks that are down there. And Mr. Whittington found 2 kids that were busted up. All you guys know about the park was getting busted up with the doors getting ripped off, and it was vandalism. The guy was just nonstop down there. Since he's caught the 2, and it's been quiet. We even had no marker, ain't drawing in there, nothing. Just the sensor out on Chase 6 Boulevard that we were putting in for that $300,000 project.
Yeah.
So far, we haven't went over 1.5 inches, even with some of these heavy rainstorms. So I'm talking to Drew. We're gonna leave it in there until the complete build out's done of Brandon. So everything's up and running. We'll see what it's at. Even during these hard rainstorms, we haven't went over 1.5 inches of flow in the channel, which is a very good sign.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, for a couple $100 a year investment for you guys, that saves a lot.
Yes.
The work, we might need another one here eventually and put it in a couple other spots here. But it saves a couple $1,000 backup, somebody taking us to court. If this comes up over the trough, I get an alert immediately on my phone. So I can get there and take care of the problem before it gets into somebody's basement. Yeah.
So Chris, you're talking about that, the I and I part of it.
Yeah, so even the hard rains, there's no I mean, that in the town, which is very good.
That's kind of a byproduct of what we were doing. Kind of 2 pieces.
So Dean South that Mr. Smith was talking about, they should be out of Canoe Circle in like a week, which then they will be back on Dean South. We won't have to worry about none of the interruptions back in Canoe Circle anymore. I know a lot of people's complaining, this road's cut off, they can't get through, they gotta go up and around and come in the one way. You probably see a lot of people coming in the one way. That's the only way they have to get in right now. So they were planning on shutting the water off on Thursday. And once they shut that water off, move the water line, you'll be out of Canoe Circle and back into Dean South.
Okay. Okay.
Everything.
All right. Anybody have any questions of Greg?
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your help at the fishing
You're welcome.
derby. We couldn't do it without you guys.
Okay, we'll move on with Superintendent Pete with our water and sanitation.
We'll start with the sewer side, everything is good. We're running smooth, no problems right now. On to the water side, still waiting on Phillips to come finish decomposing the old well and sealing it off, cutting it off down to the ground, whatever they gotta do to that. Still waiting on them to come back and do that and get their equipment. As for the new well, it's doing good so far. State has requested me to do LT2 depth testing, which is to check for crypto or bacteria in the well. So far, all the results have come back negative and good so far, so we're doing good on that. Other than that, everything's good. Nice and smooth right now.
Good to hear. Any questions from anybody of Pete?
Welcome to Wood.
Okay. We'll move on with our town manager, Rachel, with your report.
The town clerk position's been filled. The new person will start May 28th. We will be getting a book drop bin for book recycling. It will be next to the community center in Schaefer Park. The company called Book Drop has reached out to us. It's no cost to us. We don't have to do anything other than tell them where we want it. So it'll be a way that books can get recycled. Who's doing that? Company's called Book Drop. We do everything. They bring the bin, they empty the bin. Everything.
So it's just a drop, not to like swap.
No, it's to
Just
recycle.
It's not one of the library where you
Because
come-
there's one of those at the Scout building.
Yes.
No, this is
Okay.
to recycle like
Okay.
books that are beyond repair.
Okay. Drop.
And then I don't know if this will be discussed in the police report, but I had somebody the other day tell me that on 2 separate occasions, like within days apart, she saw people almost get hit in the crosswalk that goes from the park over there. And, she said that if the kids that were walking in the crosswalk hadn't been paying attention, they definitely would have got hit because the people stopped at it and then the car behind them just went around and tried. So I know that you guys have been sitting there and you've been trying to catch them. So thank you for doing that. It was nice to actually be able to tell her, yeah, we know that's a problem and the police are working on it. So
James, how many of you got there in the last?
I get at least 2 a day.
Yeah.
So.
it's definitely an issue. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for working on that.
And I know that the law states that you can pass a stopped car.
But it doesn't have the lights flash.
Flashing lights are.
Right, but I mean, they're taking that to another level because the lights were flashing. And I don't know which officer it was the one afternoon, but they had to go through the blinking lights to get the car that went through the blinking lights. And I said, now we got some action, but it's like this, I don't
A
know.
lot of students can watch, they'll be stopped one way and the other way just keeps going. They just don't.
Oh, yeah, you stop and then the people that are coming the other opposite direction think that you're stopping for them to go. And it's like, you do not see the people in the crosswalk.
The most dangerous
You know?
direction is for traveling south on North Main Street. That first car stops, and like Rachel said, they cars go around like they
Yeah.
always do, without paying attention. And the other issue is, and I don't know if this can be addressed, cars turning off Orchard. So if you're on Orchard making a right, you can't see that flashing light up there. It's kind of obstructed, and then by the time they make the turn, of course, I'll still stop in my way. But it is, folks on Orchard's a little harder to see.
So I think they look up Main Street, don't see anything, they start to pull out, right? They come to stop, they're not looking in the crosswalk. I've seen that multiple times. So.
Thank you.
I wish we had a better light there. It's not what we expected.
No.
Terry.
Thank you.
These are down to
Drew,
Town.
Drew, yep.
that was fast. He must have been short and sweet.
Well, Greg and Dave both had them short and sweet.
So, my monthly reports, you'll get those, later tomorrow, we're running behind. We had a lot of priority issues that happened last week with the construction project at the reservoir, water line issues, elevation and pressure issues. I want to thank Greg and Pete, especially Pete, for getting up all night. We were testing pressures. He was up at the reservoir till 4:30 in the morning. Greg put on the data locators because we're trying to. What's happened is since the time that you designed the new system to when we're actually building it, the demand in the town has changed as far as how much people are using how much water. Okay, that means the pumps have to work harder. So we're going through a whole bunch of calculations through pressure, because pressure is related to elevation. We're going through all these calculations to make sure that the pumps that are in the Beeler plant can fill the new tank all the way full. So that's what we're working on to try to just verify ahead of time. According to the numbers, the hydraulic numbers, it works. But we all know that what works on paper and what works out in the real world are a little bit different. So that's what we've been doing. We've done one test where we were successful. We were able to overflow the reservoir. We got the pressure readings we needed at different locations. We have a meeting tomorrow morning with WRA, the design engineer with their hydraulics people, to show them our numbers. And then we have a couple of different other tests that we're going to do beforehand. So I'm just letting you know, again, I'm not saying there's a giant problem, there's a huge issue. I'm just saying we're trying to test things to see if there is a concern or a problem. And, you know, Pete, I think you told me those pumps are 25 years old. You know, they're the original pumps that are in there. They were sized for a certain amount of volume of use by the town. The town has grown a little bit. You did Sycamore Run. But you also got the leak problem, which is simulating a lot of water use. So what we basically found when we did the test is we can still fill the reservoir and overflow it. Pete did it. But it takes a long time because the pumps that are in there, when they're running all the time, there's enough demand in the system. It takes a long time to fill the tank. Basically, the only time the tank fills is late at night when everybody's, I think we were close to overflow around, it was around shower time that I came out and checked it. And I was like, Pete, everybody's taking showers in town. Pressure's dropping. He goes, I know. He goes, I'll keep checking it all night. About 4:30 in the morning, I get this video of the overflow coming out. So just making you aware, we're working on it. I never like to identify a problem without potential solutions. So I don't know that there's a problem, but I have a concern, so we're looking into it. I just want to thank Greg Killer, Pete, and Greg, because we kind of all put our heads together on this. How are we going to do this? Because we knew we were going to have to do it at night. I mean, that was the only way. But one of the things that Greg helped us do was put the data loggers on so we can actually see some issues. That is inconsistent. I like that a lot. So that's what's happening in there. We did get our access permit from State Highway. That means we can start construction. Now, I'm working with Rick, B&R Design Group, to get all the grading permits, all that stuff, so we can start that. So those are the two big items that came up. The one under zoning administration, this technically will not show up on my report for April since it actually happened the first week of May. Do you all recall the shed that was built behind Pathfinders?
Yeah.
Remember we had a long discussion about that? And at the time, we had a meeting out there with the contractor, the property owner, inspectors from the county, and myself. And they specifically told us that those units were to be used for storage of the existing tenants. What that means is that's part of the use of that building. I was sent a picture and drove by and verified it myself. There's now a sign over there that says for lease. So the owners of Pathfinders are going to get a letter saying, hey, if you were going to lease these buildings, that's a change of use. That means you got to file a site plan. That means you got to come before the planning commission. This is why we asked the question out there that day to you. So you can't lease those out until you get approval from the planning commission. They'll be getting a letter to that effect. I am sure many of you will get phone calls behind the scene. But I'm telling you, I stood right out there and asked them, what are these buildings to be used for? They said to be storage units for the tenants that were in the building. That triggered a couple of things. They didn't have to put up the fire walls that would normally be required had it been a commercial thing. Okay? We would have also required a site plan, because if this is gonna be commercial, we have to account for people coming in, parking, getting to their units, coming out. That's why we have these rules. So I'm basically gonna be sending them a letter saying, please clarify what's going on out there. Be under the understanding that if you try to proceed with leasing this, I'm gonna cite you $100 a day for every day the violation continues. That's what's in the zoning code. We were out there, they were given every opportunity to discuss it. If their plans have changed, totally get it. Take your sign down, get your site plan approved, happy to move forward. You may have to do modifications to the building because the county gave them certain waivers, because it's different if it's storage for your tenants than if it's a commercial. So that one's gonna be unfolding this month. You won't see it on the report because it actually happened last week, but I'm just letting you know because I have no doubt most of your phones will ring. Just giving everybody a heads up.
Now, one statement you made, you said the reservoir went up at night. So since they found where that water was coming out of that one pipe grave, and that's been plugged, has that slowed the leakage?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, because Beach started flooding the reservoir a couple weeks before that.
Or that you did?
Actually, it's 3 months.
3 months ago.
That's quick.
But I mean, we didn't have notice a change in our water loss figure after.
I don't think it's been soon enough. It just happened. I just showed it to you.
Yeah, it just showed us, yeah.
I do have one question, Drew. I just noticed out North Main Street, the red metal roof house that's doing construction out back.
Well, they have a permit, the guy, before you get to AT&T on the right?
Yeah.
Yes, he has a permit.
Okay, I didn't see anything posted. I saw.
He got the permit 1.5 years ago.
Okay,
The first permit I issued here.
okay. Cool.
He's a
I
little
know,
bit,
I know the backstory.
Okay.
I didn't see a permit. I'm good. Thank you.
How do we stand with the Main Street Mini Mart issue?
Main Street Mini Mart issues. So a couple of things have come out of that, unrelated, kind of weird. So what the tenant wants, or what the owner wants to do, is she wants to take the vents and take the vents up and over. So it's coming out of the side of the building. Remember the pictures you saw of the exhaust fan? She wants, her proposal is to put a vent or to put ductwork that goes up to the roof and takes everything to discharge onto her roof, away from Mr. Dowdy. So away from it. Now, the unit would still be on that wall, but it would have ductwork that would go up and over. But to do the ductwork that goes up and over, there's an electric line that runs that had to be removed. Turns out, I don't know why, but the town has been paying for floodlights for the back parking lot back there, which I dug around, or I talked to somebody, and somebody told me that the town used to lease it. And so I called Potomac Edison, and I said, get that off the account, disconnect the line, we have nothing to do with that anymore. So that line being moved now is gonna allow her to put the, excuse me, the venting or the ductwork up and over, okay, as a possible solution. I don't know what the county's gonna say to that, okay?
Does that make the neighbor happy, or?
I think he doesn't want anything there, and anything short of nothing being there is not gonna be okay.
Will it have, how much will it lessen the noise, do you think?
It's not gonna lessen the noise of the machine, but none of the air or greasy stuff or any of that is gonna be directed at their property. It's gonna be directed onto their roof, but the machine that's turning is gonna be right there.
I think the noise is just as much as complaint as the call, so that's not really gonna help.
I'm just telling you what she's trying to pursue.
So what about the fire marshal? Did you know anything about that?
I had a Doug to find out what happened with the fire marshal. I know that Mr. Dowdy, Doherty sent out, they must have done something because he had a letter kind of responding to the counties, but I'm not exactly sure what he did. We also got our building permit for the reservoir for the building.
all I got.
Good.
Okay, back to topic number one. If I understood this correctly, maybe this is a Rachel question or a Glenn question. So you're meeting with WRA tomorrow. Is this a potential engineering oversight on their part? And if so, do we have to pay them to, as part of that other contract that we have with them? I mean, that's.
We dug through the records and dug through the old emails. WRA asked 3 separate times in 3 separate emails. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm concerned about the pumps not being able to fill it.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
So it's ours 100%.
We own that.
Yeah.
Have you heard any more about the house across from Mount Nebo where the windows are all up and it was turning into an apartment building?
The one that burnt down?
No,
Across from Mount Nebo.
by Sterling,
The one that was gonna make the.
South Main.
Staley?
Yes.
He's trying to get his permits. He's still trying to get his permits through Washington County. I mean, he still wants to move forward, but he's got to go through his permits. By the way, not related to my report, but just for the BMUC, I got a request from Mr. Healy for 3 properties. 2 he wants to subdivide and 1 he wants to purchase an additional tap. All I got was I want to buy 3 taps at these properties. I want to subdivide. I haven't gotten any of the details. The first thing I did is I went down to Yvette to get whatever the fixed units are that have been assigned by the town for the existing accounts that are out there. Because at a point, the town went through and determined all the fixed fees on every home, which is tap fees, really. So I always start with Yvette. How many fixed fees do they have? How many new units do they want to add? So I'm making sure they're getting the number of units that they're requesting. Now, if he wants to do subdivisions, and I think it's lots here on Main Street, they can be subdivided. Probably gonna roll into Board of Appeals case because you can't meet a lot of the setbacks. And again, he's gonna run into the issues of parking in the downtown.
Yeah.
And the planning commission is, let me tell you what, our planning commission, they harp on that hard. That is not something that they give lightly on at all.
So will we be talking about this property a couple of spaces down? Gee, I guess,
And on that same note, he also left me a message. Greg, you might be able to help me. I can't remember. State Highway, when they did the streetscape and they planted these trees, after so long, those trees become the property owner's responsibility and they can trim them and cut them down if they want to.
Correct. State's responsible curb to curb. Anything behind the curb belongs to the property owner.
Good, because I had, he asked me that, and I had another homeowner ask me about the trees, so I told him I would check it out, but I thought it belonged to them.
Correct.
Okay.
The only thing the town owns is the water sewer, the clean out and the water meter.
Yep.
That's sitting on the property.
And for those of you that weren't here, Verdant came and made their presentation. There's pretty good turnout. All the committees were represented. There was utilities here, there was planning commission, there was town board members. They gave a presentation. He was very open. He didn't hold back any punches. He was very open about it. I mean, he came right out and said 1,900 and what was it, 32, 35 lots. I mean, he didn't hold it back. And, he did say it was over a period of time. I did talk to your town attorney, Leslie Powell, today, a little bit about that, because I was talking about these instruments that they want us to adopt, these developers' rights and agreements, these floating zones. And she's like, wow, those are pretty advanced planning tools. And she said, seen them before, right? Other jurisdictions use them. But something like this, she's like, yeah, I really do want to be in the front end of it because I want to make sure that any regs that you pass are not just good for this subdivision, but are good for any other subdivision and are good for the town as a whole, not just this project.
Correct.
And so I said, oh, absolutely. So I'm supposed to set up a meeting with Leslie and Haas, but she said he's paying the bill. So I have no problem with that.
Anybody else have any more questions of Drew?
Has anybody paid you any money for the storage pods? I noticed one that was on Orchard.
I
Or
think,
Macon.
I know Yvette's processed at least two or three of them, but I'm not sure which properties. I can ask her tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
But yes, I know she's processed a couple because I've sent a couple down to her.
okay.
But just out of curiosity, what did the town
Jordan, what does the town use that lot behind the mini mart?
We used to, parking, municipal parking, yeah. But I never knew until Drew said we were paying the electricity for the parking lights. I don't know how that ever got through either. But, she refused to renew the, lease because her investors wouldn't give her permission to let us do that. So I told her that's fine. Yeah. No other questions of Drew? Chief, floor is yours, sir.
You guys got the report, so I'm not gonna, lose time on that. Per Terry's request, we didn't get, I got the printout from Amy. So we've written 17 total, pound citations. 16 were warnings and one was actually a citation. The citation was for $100. It was for an abandoned or expired vehicle on a roadway. And the total, had they all been fines, would have been $925 since May 1st. So, we put a public service announcement out that May 1st would be the day we would start, with the new citation enforcement. That's what we waited for, so. Yeah, with that being said, Robbie and all the guys are making a real good presence in the park. Usually right after school gets out, I talk with Amy. This has always been a problem from the time the weather gets nice until school ends. And then when school's over, the park lightens up because the kids aren't leaving school and congregating in the park. So we always have that time frame, from when it gets nice in April till the end of the school year, to fight this battle. So we're trying to make a good presence in the park. And I think we got about 5, maybe 6 kids banned from the carnival because they're banned from the park. 7. So, some, mainly one parent that's not very thrilled about that, but that is what it is. We've been hitting the park and even talking to the kids. I know me and Robbie went up there about a week ago, and I'm just throwing this out to you guys. There's a lot of nice things up there for small kids. High school kids aren't really a problem in the park, but the middle school kids are. And there's just nothing up there for 11 to 13-year-olds to do, other than be mischievous and get into stupid acts of vandalism. I'm not saying that's an excuse for what's going on. I don't know what the answer is, but a lot of it's out of order.
I'm sorry, are you saying there's nothing for them to do in the park?
Correct.
Or in town?
Well, we had them sitting in the laundromat, Rob, about 3 weeks ago, sitting in the dryers in the laundromat. And then they was using the chargers to charge their phone in there. We had to, and it's almost the same group of Friday night, I was working late with Billy, and we had a disturbance at the creamery. We get up there and it's the same 11 or 12 kids that we're dealing with, and, so, talk to their parents, and we just had it tonight, had two runaway off the school bus, and, trying to get the one out of town because she's not in town, and mom lets her stay at the residence here in town. You can't fix parenting, so it is what it is, but, yeah. So, I don't have a whole lot of answers for the boredom, other than I don't know what the answer is, Rob. I know we've talked, James, we've talked,
I actually talked to Drew as well, and there's playground options for all age groups. There just seems to not be the right thing for these middle schoolers to do. And out of boredom, they just start acting up. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know if it's certain playground equipment. I don't know if it's a skate park down the road or something.
Well, I did check a couple municipalities, MML board of directors last week. Brunswick had a skate park, but they've since locked it up.
It's because they don't know when to quit. You can get something nice out for a middle schooler. My wife used to call middle schoolers hormone city. They're at their peak. And they're just, you just can't please them.
Yes, at that point, you go into, you go, middle school is a turning point. You go into middle school, and
And how you come out of middle school, everything happens here, you're gonna be on the fast track or you're gonna be on the decline. You know, whether you're waving at the police or waving like this, and that's where it comes.
Yep.
It happens in middle school, and that's a, you know, it's always been that way, the state recognized it.
Yep.
They put a lot of money into, you know, hotspot programs and things to target middle schools, but they're hard to please.
Yes. Yeah, I just said I don't have an answer, I just.
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
There's no answer, just if
Middle
you get in
County
trouble.
has one, but that's run by the county.
The one in Middletown is Frederick County.
Yeah, it's Frederick County, it's not the cities, it's not the towns. So, New Brunswick said they closed theirs up. They had too many problems.
That's vandalism.
While we're on the police topic, looking at the budget, the police have not spent any of their $25,000 contingency. They've got 5,000 left in training. I understand we did get a motorcycle, so we did spend some of our equipment. But that still gives us roughly 35,000. Our revenues have come in higher than budgeted in interest and dividend and miscellaneous income. That I would like for us to put a bid out for the camera system because we would have enough money, you know, for what you got quoted, but I think that would have to go to a bid.
I did not hear that. We will put
So what's for the camera?
Well, I know that they brought us, a proposal for a camera system, which was not in our budget. We did not put it in the new budget. But looking at where we are today, you know, as of April and the financials, we do have revenues more than anticipated in our budget, and I did take out where our expenses were higher. Plus, the police had not spent like 35,000 of their budget from their contingency training and equipment. But that's a good chunk of what, you know, but I think that we have to put it out for a bid because it was in the rules that it wouldn't be, you can't just get a quote. It was over our, what we required for a bid.
Chief still gives them those.
So I'm bringing up the discussion, is anybody, I mean, we can put it out for bid and we don't have to do it, you know, I mean, but I just thought, does anybody want to entertain that? Because I know the cameras have helped and I know we've had issues in the park and having cameras or, you know.
Chief, you want to think on that?
I was gonna say that, we sold the Charger from municipal for $4,600. That's the most I think we've ever got for a vehicle. And then we bought the bike. We're gonna be setting, James just found out that DC won't honor our tax exempt. That they charge taxes in DC regardless of tax exempt. So we're gonna be around $6,000 on the bike. Right, we've got it for around 57, and looking at about $300 in tax. Now, we won't have to pay taxes here when we get it titled and stuff, but anyway, I've been keeping a pretty good eye, and me and Rachel just talked last week. Without the contingency, roughly setting at about a $90,000 surplus at the end of the year. Bottom line surplus, you know, I mean, we're obviously gonna be over in areas, but the bottom line from 25 budget should be around 90 without, because I took the contingency out to not count that, but I just figured it could go somewhere else. I really appreciate it. We really do need cameras, but Rachel was saying that she had some spots that maybe she could, so I don't want to jump on that money without bringing Rachel into this conversation, because we just talked about that surplus that I should have. So, Rachel?
Well, it's on the agenda, the sewer router that we're talking about for a while.
Well, is there something you're thinking that we can do in the park to keep these kids busy with that money?
Oh, I was thinking about the camera part, I didn't know.
She-
Park
Well, I mean,
equipment
they-
thing would be more a park.
That's not gonna solve the problem, that's just gonna find out who's doing it.
But I do know that the cameras helped them solve some other, and even as trial cameras we had, helped to solve some cases. I know if you're the victim of a crime, getting your case solved, you can't put a price tag on.
Amy, we already have one price on the cameras, right?
Yes, we did.
How much was that?
Right, 90,000.
Yeah, for the one, one
That's
part.
A new system.
And that's replacing the system here in Town Hall, extending it down on South Main and over at the wastewater treatment plant, adding some cameras there. So that's not adding any more cameras in the park. That's just adding more. We have blind spots right now. I am working with that particular company. There's a grant coming up in September or October, the private grant. So I'm working with them. They would write the grant for us for that project.
Now, if we go with the cameras that are here and add to that, we're assuming that would be around the $50,000 mark, correct, Amy? But it's the old system.
It's the old system, which has flaws.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just, well, like they said, we're gonna.
If I had to guesstimate, if we were going to do that with the old camera system, we're probably going to sit around the same price, a little bit less. But you're going to have to because you're going to have to build out more infrastructure with the old system as opposed to the newer system. Doesn't need it's a different type of infrastructure that's not as
hotspots at every camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Power and Wi-Fi, so each camera's its own like little hotspots, so to speak. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I really appreciate it, Mary Lee, and I hate to jump on and spend money if that grant comes in the fall. You know, I mean,
Would you be opposed to if he ends up the year, if he closes out the year with that surplus, would you be opposed to us rolling that into a revised budget for FY26, increasing the leases?
Oh, no, I wouldn't be opposed if it's earmarked for, a project that we all think is in. I think that's where you can
Yeah.
budget limit.
We're kind of overdue for that anyway.
What do you
Reserve
think?
fund.
What do you think about that, Dave? And you could wait and see if you get the grant.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to spend the town's money if there's gonna be a grant out there.
Right.
You know, we need cameras south for sure, but we've also looked at, basically trail cam stuff to get by. I mean, your guy, Greg, brought us some information on it's a motion sensitive pivoting trail cam. The cameras are, James, $300 per camera.
Yeah, the camera was $350, but then you gotta get a service plan.
Yeah.
With the amount of data we be putting in, you have limited.
Yes. I mean, so I have the numbers. I mean, we're looking at about $1,000 a month we would have to pay to get the downloadable stuff and we would be able to, actually use them. But it's also something that's, $1,000 a month compared to $90,000. I mean, that's a lot of months. So
So if you put the new system in.
yes.
Are you limited to the amount of cameras at that point?
I'm saying new system because it's just a different platform. We're still going to have the existing system. Everything that we have now stays.
Right.
Minus the town hall. It's one of Verkada system in their software.
Right.
So the amount of money, the $90,000, is just quoted for replacing what's here at town hall at the square and building out up on South Main Street.
And then as our cameras would go down, we could replace with this
Yeah.
new system. And camera per camera, it's about the same.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
It's the system is just so different.
But again, are you limited to how many you can add to the new?
No.
system?
No, you can. We can put a camera every square mile if you want. I mean, it's not limited.
Well, it's the same one Hagerstown, and Hagerstown has over 800 cameras.
Okay.
On their system. So, yeah, and they started with 3, probably 15 years ago, Robbie. And they're over 800 cameras now in the city limits of Hagerstown.
Now on the old system, yes, we are limited because right now on the old system, I'm looking from. So I've got my cameras, 30 some cameras that I see that are mostly the park and Main Street. And then there's another system that's up here that I have to remote into to see. You guys see it like right here, but I have to remote into it. So that is very limiting, and that's just the way that system is designed.
But this would alleviate all that.
Yes.
Yes.
And it would all be accessed by the new system. We have
Yes.
new equipment here.
Yes.
Brand new here. And
And
everything's
moving
south.
south.
And I can even assign, like, if you guys want a camera on the back door, I can assign that camera so that anybody can see it, so they can see who comes in the back door. Whereas with the system that I'm using now, it can be done. It's not easy, but I mean, it can be done.
So I'd be in favor, apparently, of holding the reserve funds for the police department, but looking to see if we can't qualify for this grant.
We're working on grants,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was looking at the money for this budget, thinking even, but I'm in favor, because, I mean, we have some reserve funds, and if we have projects, like, at some point, spending from the reserve funds, you know,
Right.
may be necessary for some of this stuff, it's no point in not.
But I think it would better serve
But if you
our
think of
needs if
grants
we
and
upgrade to the newer system.
Yes.
things- Right,
It's
that was
gonna-
what he gave us the quote on.
That's gonna be
a month
something
ago,
that
2
should
months
last the
ago.
town probably another 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, as it grows and as, you know.
And we definitely need one at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're probably gonna need one at the new reservoir.
Well, we've got that, we went all through the town and we stopped at all different kinds of points and they pointed out things. And you know, they want to build up here at the new development up by the circle. I said, yes, we're gonna need that, but that is so under construction right now, let's not build that into the plan right now. But we don't have any coverage on South Main at all. This camera right here and that's it. That's it. We don't really have any coverage down on North Main down by Chase 6. I'd like to expand down there a little bit too. There's some blind spots in the park. You know, so
My recommendation.
Do we have jurisdiction at the little park and ride down there?
no, that's state.
MSD, yeah.
Okay, that was my comments, like I said, I was looking at mine.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions of Chief?
thanks for working on that grant, for getting that grant.
Absolutely.
Hearing none, moving on. Mayor and council correspondent update. I'd like to thank the Green Fest committee for a job well done. Where if any of you had a chance to get down to the park, it was a pretty long line all day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was a ton of clothes.
Yeah.
Whew.
And a lot of people came down and bought stuff, and taking stuff out. We did pretty good on drugs too. We filled that container up pretty
It was a 35-gallon trash can, it was probably at least a third
Yeah.
to a half full.
Just pills.
Not
Just
bottles,
pills,
just pills.
yeah, just pills, yeah. No liquids or anything like that. Yeah. So, yeah, very good. Nice weather, cooperated and everything. Anybody else have any correspondence?
Mayor, in
Yes, sir.
regards to Green Fest, and he's like, I'm gonna argue it again. State highway needs to put turn signals in here. It's coming north on South Main, set through 5 lights, try to make a left. And then everybody's using the back streets, cut through, I said, in the fire hall, and in a matter of 10 minutes, stop 5 cars for driving the wrong way out of the fire hall. They need, this town needs turn arrows.
Yes.
We fought that battle
Yeah.
with laws.
Let's fight it again.
Yep, it's always-
We're lucky we got what we got.
Let's fight it again.
Can we not tick them off until we have all the approvals?
Yeah, let's
that
get
we
Chase
need
6
for our
done first,
contract?
and then we'll tackle them again.
We do have them convinced to do a study out at Chase 6, so maybe we. can
It would
do
be nice if they would do it during rush hour.
When it matters.
Yeah, not during when school's out and.
Yeah, they need to do it during school because that's when
I
it's the
know.
worst.
Well, that
That's
was part of our
horrible.
problem.
So I just want to recognize Mary Lee with the fishing derby. I did have the opportunity to help out. We have a new voluntold. I believe his name is Jeff Davidson.
Yes.
We're gonna have him on the list. And Public Works guys, they did an awesome job. It was a lot of fun. I think we had a decent turn. I mean, the weather was perfect.
The weather was good, we had a lot of kids, they weren't fighting, the fish weren't cooperating as much as to
Yeah.
them, but we had.
And then also the Green Fest, the clothes swap, whatever. I walked down while it was going on. It was very, very well attended, and went down the following day. You didn't even know there was anything that happened in the park. I just saw a little bit of glass on the parking lot, Greg, over by your maintenance building where the pallets of TVs were.
Yeah, they filled that box truck up, still had 3 extras sitting there.
But I mean, compared to what we had going on, I mean, it was well run too. So just thanks to all the.
When
hard
is
work.
Spikers coming back and getting the rest of that?
Soon, it should have been today, so it's
Yeah,
coming.
they did.
I called it. The kids were going through it, so I called the mayor, I'm like, can they have any of this stuff? What is it?
And I said, none of it works.
So they took a couple laptops and they said, I'll be able to fix these.
I'll call them tomorrow.
We'll talk to you.
Yeah, some of them kids can.
Yeah. If you waited another day, like the boxes might be empty. Word travels.
Yeah.
And kudos to the Girl Scouts, because I was tripping over those Girl Scouts. You know, they were helping put the clothes where they went, and those Girl Scouts really were working.
I only have one other thing, but you can tell me if you want it under this or if you want to do it under reports. We have an appointment that didn't get on the agenda for the EDC.
Do it on, yeah, you can go ahead and do it under new business. Go ahead and do it, new business.
Okay. All right, so I did attend the EDC for Ray. He was out of town. He was in France and had a lovely time, I heard. They, EDC invited Ken Ebmeyer. It's E-B-M-E-I-E-R, Ken Ebmeyer, to their meeting, and they would like to bring a appointment recommendation to the mayor and council. So I'll give that to you.
Okay, council, I'd like to appoint, how long, 3 years? 3-year term? 2 years?
I believe it's a 3.
I think it was a
Somebody
3.
fill Marie's spot.
No, it's not filling Marie's spot.
Can I ask, since they have a variety of ways you can qualify for the commission, where does this person fall?
He is a town resident, who's right here on me.
Okay.
I'd like to appoint Ken Edmeyer to a 3-year term on the EDC. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion for the EDC.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstain, motion carries. So Ed's now on the EDC.
Ken.
Ken, yeah, Ken. Okay. We have under new business donation request for Dwight Scott golf tournament at Black Rock. In the past, we've been a gold sponsor and donated them $100 to be a whole sponsor.
I'll make a motion to be a whole sponsor.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstain, motion carries. Yes.
Yes.
You got the paper to fill out, or do I have it? Oh, you got it.
You know, you have to talk about.
Excuse me?
We've only spent like 300 or 400.
We have spent
We have $600 left, so.
Introduction of ordinance 2501 fiscal year 2026 budget and tax revenue. This is just to introduce it. We had a public hearing tonight. We had one person show up.
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally. We thought our meeting started at 6.
That's why I'm gonna be late in this.
The format for it is, it's pretty much the same as it's always been, but there is one addition added to the ordinance wording part, not the budget itself, and that is section 6, the water and sewer connection fees. Water and sewer connection fees established in the water and sewer fund budget shall be charged as set forth in resolution number 2024-02, effective March 3rd, 2024. Any landowner, developer, or applicant applying to the town's water and sewer system shall pay to the town the following fees at the time of application and before any connection may be made. For the water connection, it's $10,550, and for the sewer connection, it's $15,500. This was Eric's suggestion to put this in here just to help us 10, 20 years down the road when we're trying to piece together timelines and histories for things, we can see what it was at this point in time.
So my only question about that is if we stated in an ordinance like that, does that then limit our ability to change fees without doing it?
And that's a good point. I was assuming it would be good for the entire fiscal year. By putting it in.
Yeah, they wouldn't lock us in past this budget year.
Okay.
And we've already crossed that bridge and there were no increases.
Yes, it
Okay.
can be
So
reevaluated every
if those
2
would change, then we would have to
And that's
do an ordinance.
just like the other things that changed. For instance, the sanitation and recycling increased from $30 to $35 a quarter. And then the water and sewer rates, how they go up. So it would just be reevaluated every budget year.
Yeah, just to say, Rachel, for 15 seconds, there's been at least 3 cases, stuff, I mean, I've worked on, where I've looked back for 10 or 15 years through minutes trying to find the grounds. What were the rates back then, blah, 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 so let's just get the stuff in here in one place, so we know.
And we did vote on the tax rate earlier. We already had to turn that into the county.
Yeah.
It's mentioned in here, I just want to make sure.
This is just the introduction for the.
Okay. Well, I know, but I just want to say we did have to already vote on that because
Yeah.
otherwise your tax bill wouldn't do it.
Right, we did it here on Monday.
Do I have a motion to introduce the ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2025-0-01 fiscal year 2026 budget and tax rates. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, abstained, motion carries. We have another ordinance, introduction of ordinance 2025-02, adopt restrictions on establishments selling cannabis in the town of Boonesborough.
So this was per the council's request to get something in place before July 1st. I contacted MML and they explained what we were actually able to put in place. So the highlights of it are that, the town is, on-site consumption establishments are expressly prohibited from operating within the town limits. The second item, licensed cannabis dispensaries or dispensaries may not be located within 1/2 mile of each other. And dispensaries may only operate within the general commercial district zones of the town. This is pretty much all that we would be able to implement that's different from what the state is putting in place. The ordinance is being introduced tonight, though I plan to schedule, if you guys are okay with it, a public hearing half an hour before our next mayor and council meeting. Just have to satisfy that requirement, and then it would be in effect June 29th, so just in time.
Works for me. I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2025-02 adopt restrictions on establishments selling cannabis in the town.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Let me just say to the chief, this is what I briefly talked to you about, that we're doing what we can to the maximum extent of the law.
Yep.
Hands are pretty tied.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, abstained, motion carries. Review of bids, contract award, FY 26 milling and overlay.
We received 4 responsive bids for the paving project in FY 2026. Greg and I opened and reviewed them. He went through them with a fine-tooth comb, and he recommends that we go with the lowest bidder, which is Fosler and Son. And the total amount is $127,338. We also.
Thing before, Greg? You worked with Foster?
I have not, but I know they've been around for a long time, so I talked to Mr. Bowman, because he worked there for 30 years. He said they're a very reputable company, so they've been around. They did a bunch of work for Oakland. It's the first time they've ever bid on anything for the town of Greensburg.
That's good.
Yep.
Just for the record, we did receive one more bid, but it was unresponsive since after the deadline.
Do I have a motion to?
I didn't notice this, because I've never thought you would pick this one. So I went through 2 of the others that I thought you might have picked. Does this one say when it will be finished by?
That's one of my concerns.
He didn't say. They're a pretty big company, so I'd say they should better knock it out pretty quick.
Because I noticed, Huntsberry didn't say, but CJ Miller said when theirs would be finished. That's why I asked, because we've had some problems, you know?
Yeah, we have.
What I
problems.
mean?
Yep, absolutely. I went with Wassler and Sons because if you look at it, they're putting in all the new drain pipe and stuff for us. They're not charging us. They're taking out all the stone free of charge. That was everything. Public Works was gonna do all that work to save the town some money. But Wassler and Sons went ahead and put it in their bid for free, so it saved us from having to do any other work.
Okay. I'm just worried because it doesn't say when they'll have it completed by. That's just my only worry.
Well, I guess it'd be hard to tell somebody when you're gonna complete it if you don't have a start, but I guess you
Well-
could say it would be completed within 60 days. or something.
Last year
Well,
was the
Miller
first
said-
year we've had a problem like that with Huntsberry Brothers. They said it's because of lack of help. They did our work for us for years, ever since I've been here. We've never had a problem with it. So last year they went downhill. It was bad.
Right. I mean, Miller does say the last day of this year they would have it completed by. I was just hoping
The
so.
bid required that they be finished by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, yep.
So we can hold them to that requirement.
Okay. Alrighty.
You don't have to have it completed by July 1.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid of Wassler and Son as recommended by our Public Works and Town Manager for 127, where is it? 127,388.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Accept Wassler's bid. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstained, motion carries. Approval to purchase backcountry and trailer combo.
So as we started briefly talking about when we were discussing the police cameras, this is the equipment that we've talked about a few times in the past. The BMUC highly recommends that we get this. Greg and I met with the company and the price that they can get because they would, what is it that they would fall under, get a discount for falling under?
Yeah. Remember all that stuff through like the state programs? I think they did
Yeah,
a good
one
job.
of the state programs. So the total would be $290,000. And in answer to what Marilee's thinking, how are we gonna pay for it? In addition to the fact that we're not paying, we decided to forgive, if you will, the $350,000 payment that we had planned on making from the sewer fund to the general fund. We also will be saving about $40,000 on the wastewater treatment plant fence because we budgeted $100,000, and we should be at least $40,000 under that. Under the water fund, we had budgeted $192,729 for a reservoir loan payment that we're not using because thankfully we don't have to get a loan. We received our first check from the PFAS settlement, which was $38,000, and we know that there will be at least 3 more. We don't know the dollar amount, so it might not be that much, but we will be getting more from that. We got $58,500 reimbursed for the Shaker Park Creek project that we had not anticipated. This will benefit all 3 funds because of the it'll benefit all of them because of the overtime and manpower that goes
Watch her,
into
Rachel.
these projects.
Watch her.
It does storm drains, it does.
Well, I understand, but again, you guys are telling me like what's water and sewer and then general fund.
Okay, well, to play devil's advocate, you said that they could get cameras because we had higher revenue and interest in dividends, and that's.
But that was in the general fund. In the quick fund. Okay, you know what my next devil's advocate is gonna be because we also budgeted revenues of connection fees, 274,000, of which we've gotten 63.
So I was only highlighting some of the bigger things that we had savings on or that we got more revenue in. So there is other stuff that we're at.
No, I meant with the water fund, we budgeted, you know what I mean, your expenses to offset, but we didn't get the revenues.
gonna fall short in
to
revenue.
fall
is what
short,
I'm saying.
is what I'm saying.
Very good.
So if we are ahead or
Like my deposits didn't come into the checkbook, so.
if we're ahead for the general fund, but this more so benefits the water and sewer, I couldn't move funds to
Well, we're
be able
back to
purchase
loaning
it.
money or back to that, I mean, we're back to discussing that scenario.
How much do you pay Roto-Rooter every time you have them come down?
It's good, but it depends on how bad the problem is. Like, if you gotta call like the Surf Pro, then it really gets a couple grand.
And how many times a year do we need to use them?
It just depends. It can get range from 6 to 20. It just depends on how bad the sewer system is.
So we'll save that money by owning our own.
Plus,
And
can't we
what-
rent this out to?
Plus, if somebody else needed help, can we charge?
Trust me,
them?
I tried. Middletown has the exact same unit. They would not rent it out.
They would-
No, I'm talking about us renting it out.
You don't wanna do
You don't
that.
wanna do that.
We're gonna
It'll
buy-
get room.
That's why Middletown won't rent us there.
So it's a hydro excavator. It does water, sewer, and public works. It does storm drains, it does sewer lines and water lines, and it would also pump out east west wells.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Can we justify that in the general fund a little bit there, Marilyn?
I'm just, all I'm saying is, like, I understand we're not paying back the loan thing, but we're also not getting $200,000 worth of revenue, both those funds. So that's 400,000 right there that we don't have to spend. So you have to take those revenues out before you can come up with the 290.
And what was the deal that we could make on this, Rachel? What, did we pay it all? Did we pay it all at one time?
Cash on delivery,
And when would it be delivered?
4 to 6 months.
I mean, is there any American Rescue funds that,
They can't be touched. They are all for the reservoir. We can't
Okay.
touch them.
What we could do, Mary, briefly mentioned this to Tanya the other day, and I was just throwing a number out there. These CDs that we're recouping,
yes,
instead of paying the 40 basis points to
Yes.
manage, we could spend a little bit of that money. And I suggested 10%, but it would be more than 10%.
But that's still general fund CD.
it's still general fund
That's-
reserves, but
yeah,
again, I
that's-
mean, I can understand justifying how you're doing it. I just, without looking at all the numbers, I'm just afraid, like, I understand we're not making a $300,000 payment, but part of the reason why we're not making that $300,000 payment is because we didn't get the $274,000 funded revenue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand.
But this would be on hand. We wouldn't have to wait as long if we have a backup. We can get it done quicker.
You don't want to write a check.
Have you ever had sewer in your house before?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just saying, if your checkbook balance, our sewer fund checkbook balance is $93,000. It's always struggling. I'm just saying, I don't wanna spend money that we don't have. I just wanna make sure we have the money, you know what I mean? Like, we anticipated revenues higher than what we got in our budget, so you have to allow for that deficit, you know what I mean? You
You
can't just
figured
give
it
our
out, didn't
budget.
you? We haven't.
But I'm, you know, again, if we absolutely need it and it's something we do, I'm willing to discuss using reserve funds or general fund money, or that Tony just, you know, how to pay off the debt. Are we getting back into that situation where we're back to that? So I'm asking, or are we gonna find it a third, and a third, and a third? Is it?
I'm with you. One question.
Yeah.
Rachel, how long is the quote good for?
Yeah.
You have to,
30 days
okay,
from April 28th.
okay. All right, so let's not waste a lot of time on it tonight. Let's try to crunch these numbers and I'll come back to you. Because I want to make sure we can make the purchase the correct way too. I know we're 4 to 6 months out, right? Is that what you said, Rachel?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an
That's
FY.
good to the end of May. We won't meet again until June.
We don't have a workshop because of the carnival.
And MML, yeah,
No.
Ask them if they can extend the bid.
that's all we can do.
Let's try to do that,
See if they
Rachel,
can
and
extend
then we'll
the bid.
crunch the numbers.
I mean, I'm even okay having a brief meeting if we need to
Okay,
discuss numbers.
we'll come back, we'll figure something out. I know
And
it's,
she knew I was gonna ask the question, and I hate to burst her bubble, because she did have money she found, but.
yeah, No, it's good. I know it's gonna benefit our town immensely, but we gotta make sure we do it the right way. So let's,
I mean, is there any of the reserve fund money that's available, or that's what you guys are gonna look at?
Yeah.
Because you told me we don't have any ARPA funds not committed.
We said what we were using the ARPA for as of December 31st, and you're locked in.
We're locked in.
Cannot change that.
Okay.
okay,
Two-
we'll figure it
two-
out.
Mr. Mayor, if I can make 2 points. One point is, apparently, this is exactly why, that's gonna be my next push, is to get these connection fees out of showing revenue in these budgets. We need to move that stuff to the first fund, because it's just something you can't count on. Or have more realistic anticipated numbers in there, that's another discussion for FY 27. But, question number 2, Greg, did the contact I gave you for this piece of equipment ever get back to you?
Lenny did not.
Where do I see it?
It's like a sole source. The only way I found else is California is the only way else that makes one of these, because it's a combination. It does VACCON and sewer rotting at the same time.
Okay.
That's why Middletown purchased it. You can't really get them anywhere else.
Okay.
I mean, because there is money in the water fund user fee account, I guess, but I just don't know how much of that's allocated to the reservoir. You know what I mean? There's also money in the sewer fund user fee account. I don't know if any of
That's
that's
not-
allocated.
That's been allocated.
Because you would have some, funding there, and if
We'll figure it
for
out.
capital purchases or, you know what I mean, improvements, that would fall under that.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
So you wanna make a motion to table it?
Yes, I'll make a motion if we table the,
Do we want to ask if we can get the bid extended?
Yeah.
So that gives us another meeting?
We had $343,618 of the water user fees allocated to the reservoir.
Those we do? I didn't remember.
not the user fees account, did we?
How much?
That's what we had on the special project sheet.
Say that number again.
343,618.
So, and I think the 2 million in there is for the reservoir, right? Because it's not where the grant money went from the county. And take out the 2 and the 343, so
That was-
roughly $300,000.
That 343,000, that was money that we got back. We stuck it in there temporarily, Rachel, because, what the hell was that, Eric? We paid,
After we used them 6 months ago, but it's not really.
it's not
User fees money.
user fees, it's ARPA money that we got reimbursed. We couldn't put it back into the ARPA account, so we put it into the user fee account. So it's not the user fee,
It was one of the grant.
yes.
I mean, you
Program
you
income.
probably have roughly 300,000 each of those.
What did you say, Rachel?
Was it program income? That would be the great term for it if it was something that was like returned or you made profit off of it somehow.
It wasn't
Interest
a profit, it was because we didn't apply for reimbursement in a timely manner, so we had to get the money there temporarily.
Okay.
You got a motion to, table the VACCON and trailer combo. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstained, motion carries. Approval of tri-party MOU for Chase 6 Boulevard and Campus Avenue realignment.
Board of Ed's attorney, finished drafting it after so many meetings and back and forth. We finally have, the MOU drafted. I am seeking your all's approval on it tonight, and then the county commissioner's approval on May 20th. And it's not confirmed yet, but hopefully the Board of Ed's approval also on May 20th, which they're the ones who voted, so they shouldn't have any issue. Once the MOU is executed, then we can finally proceed with the next step.
Our attorney's already read this. Oh,
But after, Ann is the one who had been reviewing that. And the only things that have changed since Ann dealt with it were like the actual parcels, because
county.
We had little pieces of that that changed. As far as the subject matter, nothing has actually changed since Ann last reviewed it.
I didn't see any issues. I mean, other than, I hope the DOE doesn't drag their feet and they issue approvals on each step because they've asked to be able to approve things, but.
Going back, not going back to county commissioners, right? Their communication-
Yeah, but I can call it them down
I think
faster.
they'll,
And
I think they'll
also,
approve it faster than the school board.
real property administrator for the county is already putting it in work to do the deeds, and the county attorney already has this, so he has a week to be reviewing it. Actually,
Shoot me, so.
hopefully.
Do I have a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding?
I'll make a motion to approve the tri-party MOU for Chase 6 Boulevard and Campus Avenue.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same, abstained, motion carries. Proposal fee for construction and inspection of future projects.
This is something that I wanted to bring up because Greg has been spending a lot of time out at the Circle, 15 South. Every time we have one of these projects going on, he has to spend a considerable amount of time there. And the general fund is paying for the staff time to be on site doing these inspections. And that's not the way that it should be. The development should pay for itself. So I am suggesting, not asking for a vote tonight, this is just being brought up to you. I'm suggesting that we impose a 1% fee on future development, which would be for the construction inspection that needs to happen on this new development. And that would help cover the time that Greg is out there, and then if it gets to a point, he can manage it right now, and Drew's still helping him a lot too, I say Greg, but Drew's been doing a lot on site too. He's handling it right now, but, you know, if somebody's sick, somebody has surgery, somebody quits, then he's stretched more thin, and if another development starts happening, there's just no way he's gonna be able to be there. We'd have to hire somebody or pay someone outside to be assisting with this. Instead of us having to cover the funding for that, I think that the development should pay for it, so.
When you say a 1% fee, a 1% fee of what?
1% of the cost estimates that they have to prepare. So they prepare cost estimates for the estimated cost of all the public improvements they're putting in. Anything the town takes over, water, sewer, storm drain, roads, curb gutter, forestry, they put all these numbers together and that's what they put the bond out for. So you take that total number, and they're getting ready to start, add it all up, it's usually $1.2 million, $1.4 million, depending on how big the project is, take 1%. That then gets billed to them. They have to pay before they get their permit. And that puts it in the general fund coffers, and then every time Greg's called out, puts it on his time sheet, you're getting reimbursed for them. Plus it starts the developers to also get used to paying their own way, paying for the inspection fee, understanding what it is, and then we have time to react if for some reason you had 2 phases going or 3 phases going, and you had to either give you the option, you have a revenue source. Now, if you all have a decision, do you hire or contract with someone where you're gonna pay more, but then you don't have the overhead and all the retirement and all those other benefits? Or is it something that's a position that's gonna be grown into? For example, if the Verdant thing actually went, I mean, legitimately went, and I know this is a big pipe dream. But if it actually went, you probably would make sense to hire somebody because you have a giant source of income every single year paying for inspections. And that inspector, quite frankly, on a project that size, you'd never see him in the office or her. They're gonna be on the site all the time because of the size. So it's not unusual. These are charged in many other jurisdictions.
See, I kind of thought that's what engineering fees that we charge, I guess, or engineering inspection fees, so we don't do this now, is what you're telling me. We just kind of like suck it up.
I've always been of the opinion, no one's gonna care about your system more than an employee you pay. Contracted person's gonna do a good job,
Lots of them that do, okay? If you want someone you have your finger on top of, make sure it's getting done the way you want it. You want your own employees. I mean, I can tell you in my previous life, the county did the town's inspections for 10 years. Then we start digging stuff up and start finding inspectors sleeping on the job and stuff. We're like, wait a second. And, you know, we start running through the numbers and we were looking at development, so we could be putting over $36 million of infrastructure in the ground. We were gonna take care of it. I mean, think about it, it's yours. That's the way you gotta think about it. Those water lines, those new roads, they're yours. You're going to take care of them in perpetuity. You want it done right. You want it to last that full 20 years or that full 50 years. And the person that's gonna make sure that happens is this guy out there going, oh no. And they dog him all the time. Oh, it doesn't really have to hold for 2 hours, does it? Yes, it has to hold for 2 hours. The back T-test doesn't really have to come back before we hook it up. Yes, it does have to come back, you know. So he's on them about that kind of stuff. And this is just a way to recoup the cost. Because I know, Greg, you can speak for yourself. There's some days I know you're out there for an hour, maybe two. I know there's some days you're out there for half the day.
Yeah, but when we're not working. I didn't look at my iPad, but I think I'm over 80 hours. I got an app that I run on there, an inspection app. It tells you how long I'm out there. All you have to do is pull it up on your computer. I think I'm over 80 hours since he started Canary Circle. Mr. Council member sees me out there all the time, right?
Well, Drew, maybe this is a crazy comment on Luke today. I like the idea that when you first started North Howard down here, 1% fee or $200,000 whichever is larger to cover some really small projects. Some number, I mean, 1%, I thought it was crazy. 1% of what, you know?
Well, that's what I didn't know, yeah, 1% of what, and then we have to do this in the form of an ordinance, do we have to do this in the form, how do we,
how do we start this?
I mean, we would have to put something a little more than
I-
a proposed fee on the agenda, I think, to be.
How about I put a staff report together for next month? You're introducing it now, you're introducing the discussion. Next month, you'll have a staff report that'll break it down. I'll show you examples of what the cost estimates were for like Dean's House, so you can see what that cost estimate would be. And then you can decide whether you want to hold a public hearing and pass ordinance, because it's a fee, right? And tell people that, hey, you know, it may not be a bad idea either. Because the one thing I've been thinking about, you know, we revamped our fees. We made them simpler. You know, the one thing that was never on there that we actually had 3 of last year? Utility plans. You have charges for site plans, final plats, all that stuff. But a utility plan like the ambulance company submitted or DePietro submitted, they weren't site plans. They were just utility plans connected to your system. We should probably have a fee for that too. But so that,
Not to mention our WRA model.
Yeah, WRA.
so there's some fees, there's some reasons to relook at fees in your resolution anyway. But just to go along with what, you know, Rachel presented, I put together a staff report, you can see the details. I think it's well warranted, because you clearly can prove that you're spending money, taxpayers' money, to monitor development. And I think we all agree, and we all want to be very clear from the beginning, that development is going to pay its own way as much as it can.
Absolutely.
And we may have to be changing some of our other ordinances to make sure that they're all paying their fair share.
So would this be a bad idea to try to do this, use Easter Day as a test case?
That's correct.
So the 1%, you know, which it's a great idea, you know, something that would reflect the ratio of how much effort we have to do. 1% of a big project, or 1% of a small project, is really relevant. It could be a horrible project, small, and not give us money. It could be a nightmare of inspection. So in some way, it's so relative to the amount of work that's invested.
And that's something, you know, we can track with time. Greg is using the Rake-In app for his inspection. And if it has a place in there for him to actually record all of his time, we can track it over time and look at what the cost is. And then maybe you decide it doesn't need to be 1%, it needs to be 3%, or it needs to be something else. Again, I don't know.
There's some way to quantify the effort that has to go into it.
Well, he's already said
It's in there. I got the rest. I'm looking at the reservoir once a day, like Dean South.
I guess I'm gonna ask again, like, what do other places do, like Brunswick, Pittsburgh, Middletown, Pittsburgh, do they have anything like that?
Middletown does the 1%, Brunswick does a different fee, Frederick City, Frederick County all do the 1%? That's where I got it when I wrote it long ago. It was the same as everybody else. In fact, the developers didn't really bitch at all. They just, okay.
Well, yeah, they
Well,
just have to figure it
1%,
into their
yeah.
pricing, you know what I mean?
Well, keep in
But,
mind now.
yeah, it'd be a lot of money, but they hear 1%, they think, well, that's not too bad, it could be higher. But Greg's already got, what, 80 hours, you said?
Yep. I was sent to over that. I didn't look at it.
If you look up for the staff.
We'll put that on the agenda for next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yep, good idea.
Any other new business? Hearing none, we'll go into commission. Report, Park Board.
Okay then. First off, Smitty, I'm sorry if I gave you any false information about what's going on behind you. I'm learning this stuff too.
We were all a little confused.
So anyway, Eagle Scout Liam Boyd from Troop 20 is going to build for his project to get his Eagle Scout badge. He's going to build roughly 20 Bluebird boxes in Schaefer Park. His official proposal will be ready in August or September. The boxes will be ready for nesting, or the boxes to be ready for nesting next spring. And the Park Board approves that. This is the silver award for the Girl Scout troops, 15-6, which is equivalent to the Boys Eagle Scout badge. Natalie Gray and Grace Lackey presented their project to build what is called a buddy bench near the basketball court in the park, which a buddy bench is if somebody's new comes into the town and they're new and they don't know anybody, somebody, the scouts and stuff can go down there, sit and talk to them at the bench. So scouts, Park Board approved that project. They will also get the materials, build, and do any repairs for the next 4 years. So, yeah, that's why we approved that. Phase 4 walking trail, Arbor Day, spring cleanup, ribbon cutting for Boone Trail will be, of course, we already had that done. Pollinator hotel and nesting boxes, owl nesting boxes. Pollinator hotel is going to be done by Scout Troop 51, which is Jake Bennett. Owl nesting boxes, I don't know how many he's going to do. I thought he's still 10, maybe. That's from Troop 20, that's Ian Stan. And Laura met with the boys to decide on the locations for the project, and more information will be coming. Tree board, under the tree board, the trees we received from Maryland DNR have been planted. Concert series, all concerts have been done. Fishing Derby was a success. Green Fest was a success. Flag and Train is May 18th. They're finally, I think they're going to get the person they had last year. They called her the spinner. She does the, I don't know what they do. And then Independence Day is going to be held July 3rd. And there's applications for vendors out there, so if you need anybody wants to sell things, the application's out there. Yep. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody got any questions for Ricky? Hearing none, BMC.
Mr. Mayor, we did not meet last month.
Oh, wow. that was David's
No
birthday.
pun intended, we did not meet last month. Move on.
Thank you.
Wow.
Planning Commission, Eric Jones.
I will try to be brief.
Oh.
We did have a short meeting. Under improvement plans, Mr. Smith back there, we talked about plans for Dean North are forthcoming. So that's the houses that will be built, obviously, to the north of the new road. Okay, I don't have a number for those, there's like 56 to the south, I don't know about the north, but anyway, Yeah, 750 full. So we were told that those plans will be forthcoming. We did review the comp plan a little bit. The commission had the assignment. We did get some feedback on that, so those comments are being reviewed. They were also given an assignment, I'll say, to review the draft goals and objectives and start to think about that. Drew, correct me if I'm wrong here. And I had one other thing scribbled down there, but I lost it. I think that was really about it, honestly. But a sidebar comment that I'll make, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Drew already brought up that we had the meeting with Verdant, however you say it. It was a good meeting. It really was. The guy laid out what his plans are. Mayor and council had good representation there. There were 4 of the 7 of us there, plus Rachel. The Utilities Commission had 1 person there, and the Planning Commission had 2 people there. I thought that was a poor turnout on both of their parts. This is an important thing that may happen to the town, and I plan on telling them both about it to show up next time, because there will be a public hearing. So I'll let it go with that.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions of Eric? EDC.
I was in Paris, so Tony.
I understand that. I understand that.
So Tony, go ahead.
So I sat in Ray's absence at the EDC meeting on April the 28th. They reviewed their treasurer's report, and Terry Packard wanted to note that there were some items that were mischarged or misappropriated. So they're going to come in and have a conversation with you, Rachel, and have fun with that. BTA needs to bill the Boomfest music by the end of FY25 for downtown. So that was just mentioned because if Boomfest, if the BTA doesn't bill, then they can't take that money out of the budget. And they're finally starting to learn how this works. They're looking to use funds for the beautification project as a down payment of the sign for the traffic circle. So when Terry comes in, just make sure you go over her numbers with her, because she was really confused on expenses and revenues. But anyway.
Well, is anybody gonna get to look at this sign before they do it?
I have taken over getting, because there's grant money at stake, so I'm the one who is in charge of this project now to make sure it gets done. So I'll be the one who sees it.
Rachel has put the hammer down.
Okay, I just kind of thought, like, we might get to see the vision of what the sign looks like before it gets put up.
So you walk with the Rachel.
It's gotta meet standards.
For the record, I did not come in here and try to take over and crush everybody's dreams, so I want all the commissions to know that. That is not my purpose here.
Are doing a good job.
Trying
So
to do my job.
if they're complaining, it's a good thing. Let it go.
No, but I also thought like the sign and beautification project would get presented to the council for a final, like.
Because you'd think that you should have some input.
Well, yeah, it would be nice for the public to have a chance to have some input of what the sign is gonna look like instead of repeating it.
I
I
didn't
was taking care of
think
it.
that you guys were.
Yeah,
I meant that.
It's okay. And that's what happened with that.
Oh, I'm not being done.
So
The sign could say something about borough on it, if you wanna make sure.
The sign I can present to you guys. The
That's all.
downtown beautification is dead in the water. We don't have money for that, so I don't even know why that's.
It's
being
okay.
talked about.
It's okay.
Good.
It's okay. So, report from the park board, they did spring cleanup, Arbor Day, it all went well. Lots of volunteers, they were there and they were ready to work. Phase 4 walking trail ribbon cutting was held, and just want to let everybody know to use it. I don't think we need to tell too many people. I think that new trail is being very well utilized. Fishing derby, park concerts, and the carnival along with the disc golf is all coming very soon. Grant updates, the museum bathroom project is complete. FSA was subcontracted by, FSA is subcontracting Triad to design the traffic circle sign. So that will get back to where Mary Lee was asking earlier. They would like to match the natural stone on the replica of the monuments. They do have some ideas, so there's more forthcoming with that. Networking events, Thursday, the 16th at the Legion, July 17th at the Vineyards, under, not those Vineyards, the Vineyards over here that's coming to town, a new business over off of Mapleville. Business ribbon cuttings, we had the opening day for Farmers Market. We had a ribbon cutting, I didn't know, at the Green Fest and Swap Recycling. And on, well, they had it in their report, there was gonna be one, but don't worry about it. It was-
I was there at 8:30 and they didn't have anything.
June 21st, the National Road Museum and Visitor Center. And there is no date yet for the disc golf, for Vanish, or the Vineyards of Mapleville Manor.
Well, the disc golfs are done, aren't they, Craig?
They've got more to do.
They got all baskets up, they don't have none of the stuff on the ground.
And they've had one complaint about one of the, what is it, one of the holes. It's in a forestry. It goes across
It's
the,
straight across the walkway.
yeah, it goes into forestry place. Yeah. It's right in here. I think it's 14.
Well, we'll just take that one out.
Yeah, we'll just take that out. But then,
The quarterly rack cards, they're working on a list and a QR code. Main Street, Maryland, discussion is ongoing. Was noted that the budget item was removed to pay the part-time salary. Good job, Rachel. Commission opening for Ken Ebmeyer was invited and attended the EDC, and it was recommended to appoint him to the commission, which we did earlier. They're not sure about Marie Oyster. She will, if she's able to continue on the EDC or not. She's now working at a new position at Fulton Bank in Hagerstown. Under reports, the battle in Boonesboro was postponed. Girls' Night Out is May the 15th. The Food Truck Festival is August the 31st. Boonesboro Bites and Bevs, September 25th, new event. More information to come. Appalachian Trail Committee, the Boonesboro Outdoor Expo event at Schaefer Park is going to be on October the 18th. Sunset, 5 Mondays are already booked at the South Mountain Park. And the stamp dedication ceremony was held on April 25th. Visitor Center, the National Road Heritage Museum Foundation is participating in a yard sale event on May the 31st. And a visitor that attended the National Road Museum created a video and granted permission for its use. His business is called Charity Pants, P-A-N-T-S. Don't know anything more about that. Also, they noted that more volunteers are needed to fill hours at the National Road Museum. You can go on the website and sign up online. I will be attending the next meeting with you, Ray, because that group is a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, was it 3 hours or?
It was long enough.
Thank you, gentlemen. What is the, you said the breakfast was 60 or 50?
It's third. It's third.
I thought you said 60. It's
15, yeah, it's
15, okay.
7:30. Thank you, sir. Any questions of Tim? Hearing none. Paramount, sir?
We didn't have a meeting since we next met.
Okay. Anything else come before council? Hearing none.
Thank you, yes. It's nice to have
Yeah.
people
Got people.
engaged.
Yeah. You don't have anything to say. You're quiet.
Nelson. Nelson is just an observer. He loves to come here.
So you just spoke him up, for Pete's sake.
May I be excused?
Yes.
We're gonna make a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. He is always here for something. Hey,
He's
Chief.
interested in what's going on in this town.
Enjoy your.
Thank you.
They're great.
I'll be back on the 23rd.